Hello there, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Ijeoma Innocent.
And I am Kayla Abraham. And these are the top stories. Arawa Youth Forum explains agitation in the North orchestrated against Tinubu ahead of 2027. Biasa government approves farming days for civil servants as food insecurity worsens. Ex-APC chieftain urges EFCC to invite Wike Autumn Ikbazu for questioning.
And Dana airplane crash lands in Lagos on the foreign scene. Mass arrests made as U.S. campus protests over Gaza spread. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The World News at 12 begins with the president of the Arawa Youth Consultative Forum, Yerima Shatima, raising the alarm that the emerging agitations in the northern part of the country are being orchestrated to stop President Bola Tinubu and his vice Kashim Shettima from seeking re-election in 2027. He enforced that the emerging agitations could be traced to a desperate section of the northern political elite, who he said are allegedly plotting to prevent President Tinubu from seeking re-election in 2027 by way of setting unrealistic and unattainable standards for the Tinubu administration to discredit the government and sway public opinion against the president. The youth president in a statement alleged that the campaign of vilification and destabilization were part of a broader strategy to weaken President Tinubu's support base in the north, with Minister of State Defense Bello Mohammed Matawale as a primary target. Describing the efforts of the anti-Tinubu forces as too early, the Arawa Youth Forum warned against what he called deliberate propagation of false narratives and the use of obscure groups such as a certain Arawa Youth Forum and many more to come to undermine the president's allies and tarnish his reputation. Meanwhile, the Biasa State Civil Service Commission has approved a 2-day weekly farming period for workers, reducing the number of workdays to 3. This is according to a circular signed by the Biasa State Head of Service, Bio Belemoye Charles Onyama. However, the development that followed Governor Duye Diri's approval only affects civil servants from grade level 14 and below. He directed that the remaining 2 working days should be used for farming to promote food security in the state. Teachers, medical personnel and other staff on essential services are excluded from the directive. The directive is expected to become effective from April 29th and also highlighted that it will be for 6 months.
In another development, a former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress APC, Comrade Timmy Frank, has urged the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC to expand its investigation following efforts to apprehend and prosecute former Kogi State Governor Yaya Bell. Speaking in Abuja, Frank urged the commission to broaden its investigation to include other allegedly corrupt individuals, particularly former governors, ministers, and public officials associated with both the past administration of ex-President Muhammadu Buhari and the current administration of President Bola Tinubu. He stressed the importance of extending the probe to avoid giving the impression that the EFCC's actions against Bello were merely a witch hunt. While commending the EFCC's steps to hold Bello accountable, Frank highlighted the need for equal scrutiny of other individuals accused of corruption. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Yaya Bell, has hinted that the country is not mature for state policing despite the myriad of security challenges facing it. He spoke on Monday during a national dialogue on state police held in Abuja. The IGP argued, among other factors, that there is the potential for abuse of power by the state political leadership. President Bola Tinubu, who flagged the dialogue open, urged participants to consider the implications of state police. Some called on the government to address the nagging and welfare challenges of the central police before adopting state police. Senate President Godswill Akpabio also said for state police to work, it must be free from religious extremism and ethnic and tribal sentiments. In a recent development, an aircraft belonging to Dana Air has crash landed at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. VOP News gathered that no casualty was recorded. Other details surrounding the incident were not readily available. The airline and the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has not commented or issued a statement on the matter. VOP News will bring you more details as they unfold.
We ought to have aviation correspondent Tony Awuno via the phone to give us more update on the situation, but the World News at 12 will proceed while we try to reach out to him. While we try to reach out to our aviation correspondent, we'll go on to news and the foreign scene, where protests against the war in Gaza have spread from Columbia and Yale to other U.S. universities as officials scramble to defuse demonstrations. We now have via the telephone Tony Awuno, who will give us more update on the Dana airplane crash situation right here at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport Road. Welcome to the World News at 12, Mr. Tony Awuno. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, please. We need an update on the situation with the Dana airplane that crash landed in Lagos this morning. What led to that? Was it the weather situation? What really happened?
Yeah, first of all, there was heavy rain and very strong wind this morning. So it happened that what really happened was what we call a Wrongway Excursion. You know, that happens when a plane veers off the runway. And I think from what happened, it's an incident. And I think the pilot has to be given some, thumb up, because what he did is he made efforts to ensure that the plane actually...
So the reports that there are no casualties
landed.
is true?
So it's just a runway excursion.
The reports that there is no casualty, is that true?
Yeah, there's no casualty.
And no injuries?
No casualty. All the 83 passengers actually, disembarked on hot.
That is good to hear. Thank you so much, Mr. Tony Awuno, for joining us on the World News at 12 this afternoon and giving us this update. We are glad that the pilot was able to do what he did to ensure that there were no casualties and no injuries. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Still on the World News at 12, we are giving you a story on the foreign scene, where police moved to break up a protest at New York University and made a number of arrests. Dozens of students were arrested at Yale earlier in the day, while Columbia cancelled the in-person classes. Similar encampments have sprung up at Berkeley, MIT, and other top colleges across the country. Demonstrations and heated debates about the Israel-Gaza war and free speech have rocked UK campuses since the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7, which prompted Israel's campaign in Gaza. Still on the foreign scene, in a tragic development, 5 people, including a child, have died while trying to cross the channel in a small boat, according to French police. This comes as the UK's parliament passed Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's flagship Rwanda bill after months of wrangling. The government says the bill, which aims to send migrants arriving in small boats to Rwanda, will deter people smugglers. The PM says it will not allow anything to stand in the way of getting flights off the ground. Illegal Immigration Minister Michael Tomlinson insists the deterrent effect will kick in when the fights start. The bill designates Rwanda a safe country, but the plan is fiercely criticized by opposition and rights groups. Well, now joining us to discuss issues on the World News at 12 this afternoon, we have via the telephone Mr. Victor Atewe. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Atewe. He's a political, national and social affairs analyst. Welcome to the World News at 12.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Ambassador
And good
Victor
afternoon.
Achawe. Good afternoon. Welcome to the World News and Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Oh, Ambassador, we're going
Okay.
to start with this development. Well, the Biasa State Civil Service Commission has approved a 2-day weekly farming period for workers, reducing the number of work days to 3. Apparently, the Governor Due Diri's approval only affects civil servants from grade level 14 and below. He directed that the remaining 2 working days should be used for farming to promote food security in the state. Well, Ambassador, I'm going to start with this. Well, we've seen the rate of insecurity and killings of farmers in this region of the country. I mean, farmers have come out in Delta State, Biasa State, lamenting that Fulani herders come to kill their crops and kill their plants. I mean, what are the measures that have been implemented that when those workers go to their farmlands, they are secure and they are assured security and safety as they proceed to, to farm and feed their families?
Okay. Okay. If I'm to get your last take, sorry, I think I missed that. What was that you asked again?
I said we have seen insecurity and killings of farmers on their farmlands, especially in this region in the country. We've seen that farmers and many farmers and fishers lament from Delta State, from Benue State, Biasa State, to be precise, complaining of Fulani herders coming to destroy their plants and food crops and their farms. Well, I'm asking if the government is saying the civil servants should go to their farmland and farm to promote food security in the state. What are the measures that have been implemented that assures their safety and security while they go to farm for food for their families?
Okay, yeah, okay. First of is that initiative been taken by the state government is a good one. Because if across board, our civil service have been stereotyped. I mean, you find out a lot of people tend to work for government and they don't go to work. They handle their own private business, and at the end they earn salary. So we just have people who are redundant and not being productive. So I think that has propelled the state government, Biasa state government, to come up with that initiative to say, 2 days you come to work, while the other days you use it to go back to your farm. Yes, that's a good one. But the question will now be, what's the measure put in place, just like you rightly asked, to guarantee lives of civil servants or farmers who would want to decide to go back to farms, and of course to help boost the economy, in terms of the food and all. But insecurity of the country is a national problem. National problem in the sense that even the federal government is still yet to find an holistic solution to the insecurity problem in the country. So we're still battling with that. But I think that it's not enough to just give a directive. I think the state government needs to put their hands on deck, and this, of course, should also make them, amount more pressure for state security, because the federal government or the police, as it were, have been overstretched and overlapped. So providing, 100% or even 90% security for farmers, that will be left to guess, and I doubt if that would happen, or we might just, have a lot of, major catastrophe, happening again in terms of insecurity all happening in the state. But I think the state government doing that, because as it stands now, we just need to break out from the norm and see how we can, boost our economy in terms of food and other areas, to see how we can, to see how we can come up and, of course, help bring people out of poverty.
Right.
And the best way is, of course, is through this initiative. But they need to do more in terms of security.
All right, Ambassador. Well, isn't it quite unfortunate that something that is meant to be more of a hobby and personal decision is now a lifeline for workers and their family?
If I'm to get a question, the thing is, for some, I think asking, because that area, they are predominantly fishermen and fisherwomen,
yes.
And you recall that due to the oil spillage, their waters are no longer, conducive for fish. For fish and oil. So they are battling with a lot of pollutions and whatnot. So there are a lot of problems from all sides. So I think
the government, now this is where the government needs to stand up to responsibility to protect life or property, and of course try to support farmers in terms of providing them with maybe perhaps a loan or a grant, for them to get the necessary equipment, for mechanized farming, to make sure that they produce at a larger quantity for the market, and not just within Biasa, of course, within the South region and Nigeria at large in the long run.
All right, Ambassador. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your response to that question. Let's now move on to another pertinent issue that we also need to talk about, and that's the issue of Yaya Bell and his run from the law, right? He's running from the long arms of the law. While an ex-APC chieftain, he was the former National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Comrade Timmy Frank, is saying the EFCC should expand its investigation, and they should not just be trying to go after Yaya Bell, but they should try to go after others as well. He mentioned Nyesom Wike, who's the current FCC minister, former Benue State Governor Samuel Otom. He also mentioned former Abia State Governor Ikpeazu. He mentioned the now Minister of Works, who was the former Governor of Ebonyi State, that's Dave Umahi. He's saying all of these people have petitions already written about them. That why is the EFCC not going after them? He's saying if these people do not go after the EFCC, even though they are working with the present administration, the EFCC might be seen. Can you hear me, Ambassador?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go on.
Thank you so much. He's saying the EFCC might be seen to be biased if they do not go after other people. He mentioned so many names. He talked about the former Minister of Finance, Budget and Economic Planning, Zainab Ahmed, the former Director of the Ports Authority, and the current aide to President Tinubu, Hadiza Bala Usman. He talked about the Ebonyi State Governor. He talked about, like I said, even the Attorney General of Federation and the Minister of Justice, the former Attorney General of Federation, that's Abubakar Malami. He's saying all of these people have petitions against them. Why is the EFCC not going after them to demonstrate to Nigerians that their actions against Yaya Bello are not politically motivated? Can we say in this way, we can say, yes, he has a point, but then all of these names that have been mentioned, if we go back to the issue of the people who, the person who said, once you are part of the ruling party, it seems that all your sins are forgiven. Is the EFCC showing integrity by pursuing only those who are spraying cash right now, instead of facing all of these people that Timmy Frank mentioned?
Okay. You see, the case of Yaya Bello, right? It is not new in our political space. Yeah, we've always had successive. We always have our previous government who always come on board, and there's one person who's always on the watch list to be the scapegoat. But you see, getting to that statement, I think it's a distraction. It's a distractive statement. Distractive statement in the sense that it's just to distract the EFCC from doing what it ought to do. Now, you'll recall that even from the inception of the question of EFCC during Obasanjo, when Nuhu Ribadu was there, it has always been said that the government always go after those who are against them, and of course they bring out skeleton in their cupboard. Now the question is, did Yaya Bello allegedly did he do that? No, and why is he running if you have those skeletons in this cupboard? Why the scare? Why the run? Why the hide and seek? If you have nothing to say, you recall that at one point to the former governor of Ekiti State to have been like, okay, it's under investigation, and the EFCC has invited him, and he said he's not going to appear go to the EFCC as a governor. Immediately he hands over, he would answer to their call, and he went there, and of course he came out, and until now the case is still under investigation, and the EFCC is doing the investigation. So the question is, for him saying that the EFCC should go after others, you can't teach EFCC their job. It's so bad that we live in a country where we do a lot of media trial. And of course, the EFCC is not to be left out of this, because I see no reason with your intel and all what you have at your disposal, you are still for now to do a lot of media trial, asking him to go out, whereas there are a lot of intel, people saying that is at the government house, Kogi State government house. I even gathered that allegedly saying that he's not in the country, he's in Egypt. There's a lot of story flying around. Okay. So the question is, it is not, for me, you can say it's politically motivated. It has always been so.
All right, Ambassador, the excuse by AFCC is that no petition has been written against them. What about those petitions against them already that the EFCC isn't going after?
No, please say that again.
Are you with us, Ambassador?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go on, please. Say that again, please.
I said, Ambassador, the excuse by the EFCC is that no petition has been written against them. I mean, what about those petitions against them already that the EFCC isn't going after?
That is to say, these people that Timmy Frank mentioned, some of them have petitions against them already, and the EFCC is not going after them.
Yes,
after them. You know, I wouldn't. I don't speak for EFCC. I don't speak for how they conduct their internal business. I believe that because you write a petition about me, that does not necessarily mean what you wrote about me is 100% true. So it's not left for the EFCC to investigate. How long they take to investigate that I don't know. So when they come up with an investigation, and of course with authentic proofs, you know, to show that, oh, this person allegedly, or your petition against this person is true, then they will go after the person. And of course, here, we have cases, you know, live petitions, people, you know, petition the EFCC against one individual or the other. They need to address this. These people are human beings. Like I said earlier, I don't speak for them. I don't know how they work. But there's this whole thing, we need to treat one at a time. Now, if you're telling the EFCC to go after just because you say it, and they should just go after because mercy, I do not forget that we live in a country where a lot of people can just come out and say, you know what, you did this. I heard that you did this. What's the proof? What do you have to prove that he did it? So if you know you have those kind of things in your cupboard, come out and say, you know what, I'm a noble person. I'm an elder statesman, a former governor. I'll come out and okay, you know, with all the proof you have against me and all that you said, all the evidence you said you have. Okay, this is it. And you come up with your lawyer and you take it to court. So you're trying to disrupt the law or trying to get public sympathy, trying to come up and people protecting. For me, I think there's more beneath the eyes. There is more to it. It shows that you have a lot of hidden agenda and you're trying to use a whole lot of things to distract and say, rather for me to fall alone, I'd rather with other people that are maybe wearing it together and for now they're not caught. Well, you may come to judge or face the case and let's see if indeed what they said about you is not true. Come out and prove it to court. It's as simple as that.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Our final question before you go, just in a minute or two, right? The Arewa Youth Consultative Forum has come out to claim that agitations in the North are orchestrated to stop President Tinubu ahead of the 2027 elections. They're saying, look, there are some people who are orchestrating, you know, vilifying comments against the president in order to make sure that him and his vice, Kashim Shettima, do not run in 2027. But here is the thing. There have been threats on the First Lady from the northern region. It was also from the northern region that we saw a video of youths burning the Nigerian flag, you know, when they were talking about, look, we are hungry and this administration is not doing anything for us. What could be that agreement that the president has with the North that makes them feel that has not been honored, that they think, look, you need to honor this agreement, else we will not support you. Even though the Arewa Youth Consultative Forum is saying it is sponsored, the political elites that they're plotting to prevent the president from seeking re-election. In all of this, that we cannot deny that there has been agitations from the North. But still, do you agree with the Youth Consultative Forum that it is sponsored? Just in a minute or two.
I do not agree with them. You see, we are so divided, and I owe nobody an apology to saying that we're divided because once it's not your brother or seemingly someone from your region, you know, you a lot of other people come up with like, oh, we've been segregated, we've been maligned, we're pushed out of the country. The thing is, the previous government, the immediate past government, while it was there, did they come out to complain? Was the hunger not as it is now? Was Nigeria not bleeding? The insecurity that they were kidnapping and the whole thing you hear them saying that don't worry, he's working and so. You see, this whole thing is just, for me, it's just a distraction.
So you're saying there is a bias against the present administration.
And what do the Northerners want? What does the Northern Elders Forum?
The question has always been, you and I really agree that once you do not have a strong pie on the table, you tend to shout. That's what is playing out. Nobody's been segregated. The thing is, they're feeling left out because, of course, they're not holding on to power. And of course, some part of the country believe that the power belongs to them. You know, believe that they ought to be in power, they ought to control. But when they're not getting that feel, they come up with all kind of propaganda, all kind of story, inciting people, telling this, that. I mean, do not forget, just last year, just immediate last year, we just had a government which just handed over to this president on the same party, but we had the same complaint, even worse. We had insecurity. I mean, on the rise. Nigeria, I mean, our currency is depreciating. The hunger is in the land across board. But the moment the Biafra and all that came up, they said, "Oh, he's trying to distract the Buhari-led government." Now, this is there. I mean, this one is there because they are not holding on to power and they're feeling left out and they're not in prime position. So they come up with all this. They're being, of course, we all know how politics play. It's all in the bid of course, 2027, and I believe that anybody who understands how politics works, they know that it is not new. It will always come like that. If tomorrow an Igbo or a South person comes into play, don't be surprised you hear some group from the West who will come out. You see, and I fear for this country because the truth is we are united and we keep, and as each government comes into play, we keep dividing across religious, across ethnic, and also we keep dividing. And it's as if the oneness it's not longer visible. But I'll always preach that piece because Nigeria, we're stronger together, and regardless of who is there, regardless of whoever is there, we have to work together. Government is continual. We have to work together to see how we can save, because wherever you are, whatever passport you carry, you are first addressed as a Nigerian. That's the truth. Outside the country, they see you as a Nigerian. When they ask you, are you a Yoruba man, an Igbo man, an Hausa man, wherever you think you come from. So this whole thing is just our political class have to come together. They've done the worst. Nigeria cannot go below this. Trust me, if it does, we are good as God. We have to save this country. And if we do not, we have no place to call our own. I know most of them have dual citizenship, and I pity for those they call to do all those rubbish. They don't even have what they call a normal passport photograph, how much more Nigerian passport. So they have no place called home. They have no other place but this place. We just have to work together with the government, regardless. Work together with the government, and wherever the government is faulty, we come out as one to say, "Hey, you're not doing this right. This is the best." Because the truth is, politics is over. We have to face governance. The hunger knows no tribe, knows no religion, knows no party. The hunger, we buy the same food, we go to the same market, we buy the same food, we go to the same filling station, we buy the same fuel. You send your child to school, you pay school fees, regardless of the kind of school you want to go. We feel the same thing the same way. So it's not about an Igbo man being there, a Yoruba man being there, an Hausa man being there. The question is, how do we work together to save the day? And I think the northern elites need to come together and realize that, listen, it is a time for the South and the South and the South is there. They need to come and work. This whole tantrum has to stop.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. We really cannot thank you enough for joining us on the World News at 12 this afternoon. It is always a pleasure to listen to your analysis. Thank you so much and have an amazing day.
Thank you for having me, and good afternoon.
All right, good afternoon. Kayla, just before we go, I think I would like to talk about the Biasa government approving 2 farming days for civil servants as food security worsens. And I like that you talked about how something that should be more or less a hobby or something you do in your free time is now like a lifeline to the people, to the extent that you're saying, okay, work for 3 days and go to your farm for the other 2 days. Is it not an indictment on the government? Like you're trying to, I know that salary I'm paying you is not enough.
But that's the question I was also going to ask. I mean, is at this, that, like you said, indictment, that the worker is trying to say, well, the salary we are being paid, this is just a way for...
It can't feed us.
Yes, it can't feed us. It's not enough for our families. And the salary arrears,
and the government is agreeing. They're agreeing. They're saying, yeah, we know we're not trying enough for you. Go to your farms. And there's still the same issue of insecurity.
I was going to say that. We are still speaking of insecurity. We've seen how this has skyrocketed in this recent administration and in these regions. I mean, when can this... How do you think these workers are going to even react to this development?
And when
do you
will
think
it
they're going to be happy? Thank you.
When
and do you think
end?
they're going to be happy to say, oh yes, our farms, we're going back, seeing what they really had to deal with for the past months, you know?
Up until now. Do you think other states will embrace this initiative? Should they embrace this initiative?
States. Well, I don't know about that.
Anyway, that's it on the World News at 12. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again.
Arawa Youth Forum explains agitation in the north orchestrated against Tinubu ahead of 2027. Biasa government approves farming days for civil servants as food insecurity worsens.
Ex-APC chieftain urges EFCC to invite Wike, Atam and Ikpazu for questioning, and Dana airplane crash lands in Lagos. And the foreign mass arrest made as U.S. campus protests over Gaza spread. And that is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Ijeoma Innocent.
And I am Kayla Abraham.
Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Just stay tuned. Up next is Matters with Ikami Jude.